welcome you here tonight, and we are just a couple of minutes away from beginning the meeting. And before we do, I would invite you to stand, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Mike Overton will bring the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, in this time of Thanksgiving and holidays, we give thanks for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon us, and we ask that you help in the healing of those that are struggling in this time, whether from health or other consequences. Be with us now as we deliberate and make the best choices possible for all concerned. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. All right, I'd like to again welcome you to tonight's regular meeting of the Springdale City Council. This is Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. And we'll start things off by our city clerk calling the roll.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Taldo.
Here.
Jeff Watson. Mike Overton.
Here.
Mike Lawson.
Here.
Rex Bailey.
Present.
Randall Harriman. Mark Fugeros.
Here.
And Ernest Kate.
Here.
All right, thank you. Item 4 is the agenda item. Each regular meeting, the council sets aside to hear comments from our citizens. If we have anyone that would like to address the council concerning an item that is not already on tonight's agenda, you're welcome to come to the microphone at the podium. Please clearly state your name and address. Keep your comments brief and understand that the council won't be taking action tonight on what you bring forward. Hi.
Members of the council, good evening. Rachel Haskins, 2015 Balmoral Avenue. I'm here regarding a matter not yet on your agenda. It will be later, and I wanted to make sure you are aware of it. Right now, this matter is pending before the Planning Commission. It's the latter phases of a subdivision called Jacobs Crossing at Don Tyson Parkway, George Anderson, and Ivy Lane. Last week, our neighborhood, the Enclave, sent each of you a document along with photos and a petition detailing our concerns about the impact of Jacobs Crossing on traffic safety in the surrounding neighborhood. I'm not here tonight to debate the issue. I just want to get it on record that you've received what we've submitted.
I have.
Thank you. Our Neighborhood Homeowners Association president is here if you have any questions. Detailing our concerns about the impact of Jacobs Crossing on traffic safety in the
Is it you? You're a ventriloquist.
Any
Sorry about
questions?
that. I think they got it fixed. Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your time.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rachel.
My name's Ron Minot, and it's 4900 North Graham Road. We have the neighborhoods, I'll try to keep this brief. Billy Sweetser sent out the letter to the neighborhoods about that, having a meeting tonight, and in case there was any of the members of the POA, we reached out to a lot of those, and hopefully you all have gotten the emails and other notices from the POAs about the rezoning of the property from C2 to C5. And I was just wanting to make sure that I made it here tonight in case some of the POA went, you know, where's this on the agenda? And I found out Friday, so I went back to the POAs and tried to make sure that they knew, you know, to come on the 10th of next month, because I know that's when it's on the actual agenda. So I'm just making sure that, you know, that hopefully you all got the information from the POAs and the neighborhoods about that rezoning. So I won't keep you all any longer, but I just want to make sure in case there's anybody here from off Wagon Wheel, the 1752 Wagon Wheel rezoning. We did not make a mistake. Billy kind of convinced us that it was going to be in the letter that he sent out to us. Hopefully they're going to be resending out a new letter to the adjoining property lines, but I'm assuming they will. Yes, good. So that's good. We'll then plan for on the 10th. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Ron. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Council, you've had an opportunity to look those over. If there are no changes or additions, I would entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We move on now to procedural motions. What's your pleasure, council?
Move for A and B.
You have a motion and a second for A and B. Get that up on the screen, and we'll be ready to call for a vote. There we go.
Carry 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7, Planning Commission's report and recommendations by Patsy Christie, Director of Planning and Community Development. And I see we have Sharon here, ably standing in for Patsy. Thank you, Sharon.
That's great.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The first item that we have is a rezone request for .85 acre tract located at 2541 East Emma Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from agriculture district to institutional district. The Planning Commission reviewed this request and they recommended approval with a vote of 7-0. The title reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being of the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning R24-49, certain lands located at 2541 East Emma Avenue from agricultural district to institutional district within Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. And the emergency clause is for any pending actions.
Okay.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience need to speak to this issue? Okay, we'll call for the vote.
Carry 7-0.
Move emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second for the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Carry 7-0.
All right, the second item is a rezone request of .24 acre tract located at 1501 West Huntsville Avenue. This request was to rezone the property from SF2 to MF4. Planning Commission reviewed this. They requested a downgrade to MF2. And with that lower density zoning of the MF2, they recommended for approval with a vote of 7-0. The title reads, an ordinance amending ordinance 3307, the same being of zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning R24-51, certain lands located at 1501 West Huntsville Avenue, from low-medium density single-family residential to low-density multifamily residential district within Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion that ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments by the council? Does anyone in the room need to speak to this issue? All right, then I'll call for the vote.
Carry 7-0.
Move emergency clause be adopted. Second.
Vote on the emergency clause.
Carry 7-0.
Okay, Sharon?
The third item that we have, it's a conditional use request for mobile vending in a C5 zoning. And I want to make you aware of just a slight correction on the agenda. The agenda has an incorrect address of 1528 West Sunset, but the resolution that was actually inside of the packet that you reviewed does reflect the correct address of 2255 West Sunset. This came before Planning Commission. They reviewed it and recommended for approval from 7-0 with the following conditions. May not operate between the hours of 10 PM and 7 AM. No obstruction of the parking spaces required for the operation. Maintain on the site a minimum of 3 parking spaces designated for their use. If a health certificate is required, display the health certificate in a manner that's visible to customers. No obstruction of pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic flows. No obstruction to traffic signals or regulatory signs. No vending upon a public way. No sound or device that produce a loud raucous noise in violation of city ordinance or violate any other city ordinances in connection with the vending operation. And keep the vending site clean and free of paper or refuse of any kind generated from the operation of their business. All trash and debris accumulating within 20 feet of any vending stand must be collected and deposited into a trash container.
Okay. Did you read the title, Sharon?
Sorry, excuse me, council. The title reads a resolution approving a conditional use, C-24-17, for Juan Martinez of La Favorita Food Truck at 2255 West Sunset Avenue, as set forth in ordinance number 4030.
Okay, thank you.
Question, I may not have heard you. Is there any restriction on signage?
They can have one, we did not put that in the conditions, but they can have one sign on the actual structure. This location was of a previous restaurant that had burned, and there was a large pylon sign for that location, but it's actually on a neighboring property. So this food truck will not have a pylon sign or a standing sign, only allowed signage on the food truck itself.
Okay, I just looking for consistency because I know in other food trucks where we've said not to have them and there has been some put up. So, and
Okay.
that's all been reported. So just checking.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve the resolution. Other comments or questions? Council? Anyone in the audience? All right, call for the vote.
Carries 6-1.
Okay, Sharon?
All right, our next item, it's a waiver request of street improvements for South Downham Road for Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy. The title reads approving a waiver, W24-23, of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, streetlights, as set forth in ordinance number 3725. To State of Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy in connection with a large-scale development, L24-33.
Move the resolution pass with option 1.
Okay. Have a motion to approve the resolution with option 1
Second.
and a second. Other comments or questions? Yeah, that would be granting the waiver. No payment in lieu of or no, yeah,
And are we doing improvements to Downham Road?
someday. Actually, the long-term plan, I mean, the housing development there had to do improvements on their side. I would assume, would do some improvements at some point. The area's gonna sort of change someday when County Line Road reaches all the way out there. It will actually run through this property. And that right-of-way is being dedicated, correct?
The right-of-way on South Downham is being dedicated, and they did have a waiver a couple months ago with their large scale to relocate where County Line was going through their property.
Okay. Okay.
So you stated that the development across the street was not granted a waiver?
I'm not sure they asked for one, but
Not
no,
sure if they asked
but they
for
did improve their side of the street.
They did, okay.
And I believe we have several utility issues on the police side. I know we got poles down through there that would encroach.
Probably a bit more complicated, yeah. But we do have as is normal, if we grant a waiver, we do have the right-of-way dedicated for future
Correct,
improvements.
correct. And they've agreed to that.
All right, y'all have heard the motion and the second. Any other questions? Anyone in the audience? Okay, call for the vote.
Carry 7-0, option 1, the waiver is granted.
Thank you.
Oops, my clicker. Well, clicker's not quite working, but while we get that up, the next item is also a waiver request. There we go. A waiver request for a sidewalk on Gary Street and Parker Avenue. Sorry, got my. So a waiver request for sidewalks at 1355 and 1373 Gary Street. It's a corner lot, so the sidewalk would be required on both streets, which is why they are both included. The title reads a resolution approving a waiver, W24-24, of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and streetlights, as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to Jose Manuel Martinez in connection with 1355 and 1373 Gary Street and Parker Avenue for 2 single-family dwellings. And Planning Commission reviewed the request and unanimously recommended this waiver for denial. I think we have a couple pictures here.
Is there any sidewalk along there at all?
Not currently. Mm-mm.
No curbs, gutters, sidewalks in that neighborhood at all.
Correct. And with this, with the building permit for building a single-family dwelling, it would just be the sidewalk that would be requested of them.
So Mayor, have there ever been any kind of where you compromise on any of it, or does it have to be all or nothing?
You mean like?
Like
Bill-
doing the streetlights and not the curb and guttering?
Are we requiring anything besides the sidewalk?
It's just solely sidewalk for this one.
Since it's single family, I think,
Correct.
if I understood you
Correct.
right,
Yes,
the
they have a
sidewalks
lot.
is the issue.
Okay, just in the resolution, it calls out streetlights, so.
No, it's not a development plan. Their tract of land is actually big enough that they have enough road frontage and square footage to build 2 single-family dwellings with just pulling a permit and obeying by area regulations. So they don't need to put a development plan forth. So it wouldn't go to Planning Commission. We wouldn't hear it, and there wouldn't be a situation where we would require street improvements, curb, gutter, street light, with just,
So I'm sorry, how does the sidewalk come to you then?
when you get a building permit to build the single-family dwelling, part of that requirement is to then build a sidewalk in front of it. And this just happens to be a large corner lot that has a lot of frontage on 2 different streets.
There's no sidewalks in the neighborhood at all?
Not on Gary or Parker.
So it's just automatically sidewalks, according to the ordinance, would be put in and the owner has to request for?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, option 1.
Okay, which is
Second.
full waiver. Yeah. Motion is second for approval of the waiver, option 1. Okay,
So-
everybody got it?
So Sharon, I'm going to suggest to you that the way you indicated the Planning Commission's recommendation was confusing, because you said the Planning Commission recommends the waiver. I understand, you said the Planning Commission recommends the waiver denial, so it was kind of like, okay, denial
I
of the
will-
waiver request, maybe.
Correct.
I'm just saying it's a little confusing, but they unanimously oppose the waiver.
Correct.
And can you tell me, do you know anything about that discussion? Is why?
Well, it's an area that has a lot of pedestrian traffic in that area, near amenities, schools, places that people walk. There are no sidewalks, and there need to be.
kind of goes back to build it as you can, and eventually someday it'll all be filled in, I
Correct.
guess, yeah. I got one thing that I'd never thought of before, but actually Mark's question spurred it. But in the title, since this is technically a waiver of sidewalks that's being requested, do we still need to list all of those other things?
We have typically, that's from my understanding.
I just never really
maybe-
noticed it before, yeah.
It is, it can be kind of confusing.
Okay.
And that's why that, whether it's in connection to a large-scale development or single-family dwelling is
Okay.
typically the indicator.
I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. I just wondered because
Yeah.
it can be confusing. Yeah. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other comments? And that's to approve or, yeah, grant the waiver with option one. Anybody in the audience need to speak to this? All right, call for the vote.
Carries 6-1.
All right, and the last item we have for planning is a waiver request that was, no, I'm sorry, second to last. The next item, this is a waiver request for a 10-foot sidewalk along North Thompson. It's in connection to a large-scale development. The title reads, approving a waiver, W 24-26 of street
I think we've
improvements.
got the wrong, is that right?
That's not the right name.
Yeah. Thank you.
There it is. A resolution approving a waiver, W 24-26 of street improvements, drainage, curb gutter, sidewalks, and streetlights as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to Holden Buildings in connection with a large-scale development. Planning Commission, after reviewing this, they recommended denial.
What's going in there?
It's called Holden Buildings. They sell, they have large retail display of those storage buildings that is there. And I think they have already, their large scale was approved several months ago, so I think they already have the buildings out there.
So you said this is a 10-foot sidewalk?
Correct.
Sharon?
It's on 71, which state highways and arterial, so it
Right.
requires the 10-foot.
Is that the only waiver they're asking? Is this the whole gamut, or is this just a sidewalk?
It is just the sidewalk, because for right now, for the state highways, we only require them to do the sidewalk unless engineering department and RDOT decide otherwise.
Move the resolution be adopted, option one.
We have a motion and a second to approve the waiver, option one. Any other questions or comments?
Sure, I'll ask the same question, Sharon. It looks to me like across the street that there is a sidewalk on that side of the street, and
It looks like there is.
what is our goal with sidewalks along the highway? Do we have a long-term goal as far as sidewalks on the highway?
I think we do, reflected in our master street plan. That's why we have that requirement for street improvements and the 10-foot sidewalk. So ideally, they would all have sidewalks that connect, so people could,
And if RDOT is doing improvements now, they're required to do the sidewalks.
correct.
There is curb and gutter there, right?
Yes,
Yeah, just no sidewalks.
I think so. Actually, I'm not totally, believe there is, but
Might be a fence.
the current one is 5 foot, I think on,
Any other comments?
You know, I agree with that comment that if, I know when RDOT has brought up some stuff for us, they had a public hearing not too long ago, and where there's no sidewalks, they're going to be adding sidewalks. So I'm in favor of option two. denies the waiver.
We'll have to address unless somebody wants to rescind their motion, we'll have to deal with option one first. Okay. All right. Y'all ready back there? Anybody in the audience need to speak to this?
Sharon, was there any option given to this property owner about payment in lieu or any other option?
Yeah. Please. I believe you guys agreed to it during the first.
Yes, thank you, guys. That's actually why we're here tonight. When we began in the process with our large-scale development plan, we originally proposed a fee in lieu. We were provided, I'm sorry? I apologize. My name is Cody Bond with Holden Buildings. We originally proposed a fee in lieu. The city had provided us with requirements that included a 5-foot sidewalk. And based on, looking at the fact that there's no sidewalk in the area for about a half a mile in either direction, several miles, about 3 miles with no continuous sidewalk, no pedestrian traffic that's generated by our business or the other businesses, we just said, we just pay the fee in lieu and move on. And actually, that went before the planning commission and was approved. We got right to, to get our permit. We asked them to, we sent our estimate to engineering to pay the fee in lieu, and was told that during the interim, while we were in the middle of our large-scale development project, that they had changed the requirements on this street from a 5-foot to a 10-foot sidewalk, and our fee in lieu was going to double from $10,000 to $20,000. And you can imagine, we were right at the point of, after all the process to get going. So that caused us to take a step back and actually look at, this sidewalk would be a sidewalk to nowhere for, I don't know how long, with nothing else in the area. And so all of those factors was why we came to you guys to request a waiver for this.
Tell me what's changed to 10-foot in between. Why did it do that?
I'll let them know. So whenever this development plan first came to the planning office, I think it was in 21 or 22, it was several years ago, and it expired, and then they had to come back with a new large scale. There were several different project numbers. So the project was not just submitted, went to planning commission, and was approved. There were several iterations over time, and during that time, we had the 2023 updated master street plan that then set in the new standards. So when it was first approved, it was under the old master street plan, which was just 5 feet. But that development plan then expired, so we'd have to review it under today's standards.
Sorry, just a slight correction. We originally submitted, I think, around April of '23. Let me get back. We had been through back and forth, but there was only 2. We came in there for a planning commission meeting, and the planning department told us that it had been right at a year, and they wanted us to resubmit. We didn't change anything. Our large-scale development plan was already ready. We were dealing with some lighting plans and things, but we didn't change a thing. All they did, we had 2 project numbers. They changed the project, they just changed the project number. And then we continued for the next several months and never received any updated requirements. They never provided us with anything that had changed from 5 to 10 foot in that period. Engineering, I asked them about it, and they said that because we had proposed a fee in lieu, they didn't think to provide us with those updated requirements.
Ernest, would there be any way that we could accept a payment in lieu of for the 5-foot sidewalk?
You could grant the waiver for, if it's 10 foot's required, technically you could grant a waiver for 5 feet and require payment in lieu for the other 5 feet, but that's not what they're asking for. And
He's already agreed to early on, and then things changed, and if he's still agreeable to that, I'd be more inclined
I get that.
just to go along with that previous
But
agreement.
we do have a motion and a second on option 1.
Well, I agree. I don't think you should change in midstream. I'm a little troubled by that, especially when you agreed to it,
Or
and
would
then-
you still be willing to do that?
If that would be agreeable to you guys,
That's better than nothing for us if we ever pay to build a sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
But you're still agreeing on the 5-foot?
If you guys would see fit to do that, yes, we would do that.
Here, we have to do the other two first, and before we
We
get
have
to the
to,
third
we have to
one?
vote on the option one. Are there any more comments on that? Anyone in the audience? Y'all need to pull this up, so I know you're ready. We're voting, y'all set, Mark? It's not on my screen. There we go. Call for the vote.
And this is for option one.
Yes.
Fails, 5 against, 2 in favor. Do we have
I want
another
to
motion?
I want to make a motion that we approve this with option 3, payment in lieu for a 5-foot sidewalk.
Okay?
How do we assure that it's worded like that when we change it?
Well, we've got a great note taker here
Sharon,
and a recording. Yeah.
you mentioned that it had a prior, the previous one had a prior large-scale
Correct.
number.
Yeah, should we reference that?
That was
previous
what I was going to
large-scale number on
suggest.
it?
That was what I was going to
Okay.
suggest, to make sure.
Are we going to be able to do that electronically, y'all, or does Denise need to call a roll? Okay, here we go. And we're recording this, Mark, and we'll make sure everything is right, what the wishes of the council on this, if it passes. All right, call for the vote.
Carry 6-1.
All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate you working with us.
All right, planning's last item, this is one that was tabled on the 12th by council, a waiver request for a sidewalk at 1100 East Huntsville Road. And since the last meeting, it sounds like we have verified that the survey did reflect that they currently have an 8-foot sidewalk. I think they even provided some pictures with the measuring tape. But since East Huntsville is an arterial, we would require a 10-foot sidewalk. And the title for this, a resolution approving a waiver, W 24-25 of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and street lights as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to 1100 East Huntsville Road in connection with N 24-25, a non-large scale development.
And you don't have a 10-foot sidewalk anywhere close, right?
Not that I know of. Mm-mm.
How does this affect the Curtis sidewalk that was originally required too?
It doesn't, they've actually agreed to, I don't know if that one is reflected, but they've agreed to do a 5-foot along Curtis. This is just for that Huntsville frontage.
Are there any options listed, or am I just not seeing it right?
Well, it looks like we just got a letter requesting a waiver.
And the same resolution would be
Table
put
for-
forth. It would not have
Yeah,
been,
November 12th.
it wouldn't have been.
But we
updated.
don't have that resolution in front of us is the problem. That seems to be a problem.
Is it in the minutes from the previous one?
Remember us talking about it last time, but, you know, we really need, if we're going to vote on a resolution, we really need it in our packet.
I was wondering why, I wasn't at the meeting. That's why this doesn't look familiar to me.
That's what happened.
That's what happens.
Where they were going to have to pull out the whole sidewalk to add 2 feet to it.
It was tabled from November 13th or 12th. It was tabled from the last meeting. It's not there. I guess I just pulled that off the agenda. It's from-
Okay, whichever meeting it was talked about because they thought it was a 7-foot sidewalk at first, and then it was a,
November 12th.
We don't have a resolution, so we can't vote on it.
Where'd Anna go?
Anna went to print off some hard copies.
Now, you the lady that owns it, right?
Good evening, council. My name is Yesenia Sanabria. We're hoping that we can get this approved and get going with our project. We are trying to do a commercial mortgage lending office, and originally when I spoke with Patsy to get all our documentation to get this going, she mentioned 8-foot, which in fact we do have an 8-foot, and we also agreed to add additional sidewalk to Curtis. There was some mixed confusion about the size last time. The plan said 7. When we went and measured, it was actually 8.
So you're just basically not wanting to put sidewalk there because there's already 8 foot there, right? So
Correct.
you're asking us to waive that requirement.
That's right. Because we
And the
actually
confusion
did.
last time was that somebody said on a drawing or something that it was 7 foot, but
That's incorrect, that's right.
yeah,
And,
that's an incorrect drawing.
correct. And then we did have our engineers measure and look all through Huntsville, and there is no 10-foot sidewalk. And we're pretty much at the end of that street, which, that's why we're hoping we can get this waived, so we can,
And again, you're
holding
going,
back.
and again, you agreed to do a 5-foot sidewalk on
That's
Curtis.
correct. That's right, yes. Thank you.
This does appear to be the same one that was in the agenda packet for the November 12th council meeting.
Thank you, Anna.
Since we have do have a resolution, I move we, oh, sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Watson.
I'm going to read the title.
Are you vying to take over?
And the title for this resolution, a resolution approving a waiver, W24-25, of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutter, sidewalks, and streetlights as set forth in ordinance 3725 to 1100 East Huntsville Road in connection with N24-25, a non-large-scale development.
Move resolution pass option 1.
second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the resolution with option 1.
Do we need to have anything in this that sidewalk will be put on Curtis, or is that just going to be on the recording?
Yes, they've reflected the sidewalk on Curtis on their development plan, so during inspection, I mean, we'll expect to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, I think we're ready to call for the vote on that.
Carrie 6-1.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sharon. All right, Finance Committee, Chairwoman Amelia Taldo. Amelia?
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the Finance Committee agenda is a resolution to waive competitive bidding and authorization to enter into agreement for improvements to the Allen Building. And this is presented by Colby Fulfer, Chief of Staff, and everything in our Finance Committee was forwarded with recommendation for approval.
Thank you. This is regarding the Allen Building, which is located directly behind this building. We've actually had the discussion that we need to repair the roof on this facility for a few years now, and we just lucked out and had a massive hailstorm not too long ago. And the insurance company said that they would help us pay for that. So the insurance has agreed, they've worked with Milestone, they've agreed to cover $561,740. That'll be paid directly from the Arkansas Municipal League's insurance program to Milestone. And then we are proposing also to include $85,695 to go towards the painting of the exterior building. And it'll prepare and paint the exterior metal wall panels, CMU, overhead doors, miscellaneous steel bollards and dock plates, and replace the plywood on the door openings with metal wall panels. And that would come out of the unrestricted general fund. So it's an amount not to exceed $647,435.
Colby, can you help explain or help me understand why we would want to waive competitive bidding on this?
Yeah, this was something we discussed. Milestone actually had done some work on the Allen Building, and we were going to include the repairing of the roof when we built this facility. We ran out of funds. We didn't have enough to mess with the Allen Building. It would have cost too much at the time. And so we decided to hit the pause button, and they had already done some work on the south end of the Allen Building. And so they've already looked at the roof. They'd already done a lot of work towards getting that prepared to move forward. And so we went ahead and used them on this project. We thought it would save us a little bit of money on the prep work.
The resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments or questions? All right, call for the vote.
Carry 7-0.
And I would like to make a correction. Items A, B, C, and D were recommended for approval. Items E and F do not carry a recommendation.
Right.
Item B is a resolution amending the budget and authorizing the creation of a new position. And again, this is presented by Colby Fuller.
Yeah, the situation we're at with the museum, she's doing a lot of restructuring, and one of the positions that she has had is a grade 23. It's an image collections manager. In the budget that has been before you, she's actually reducing that position. It'll be an exhibit developer, which is a grade 20 as opposed to a 23. So there's a reduction in the budget for that position, but she cannot advertise a position that doesn't exist, and she wants to go ahead and advertise that. So if this was in January, you would see about a $4,000 a year savings, but since we're this far into the year, it's very minuscule. But she does need the ability to go ahead and advertise now in hopes that you approve the reduction of that position in the future budget.
The resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Other questions or comments?
So the 2025 budget removes that other position?
It does. It replaces the grade 23 with a 20. And we've done a lot of restructuring, and so that's one that she felt she could do with reducing that to a 20.
But is that already reflected in the proposed budget?
Yeah, if you pass the budget, that's good. That reduction is going to happen. This is going to allow her the ability to go ahead and do it now, just to advertise.
Got a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Carry 7-0.
Item D is a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerks to enter into an agreement with the Tesla developer for a cost share to improve Apple Road from Jean George Boulevard to 64th Street. And this is presented by,
I think we're on C.
just kidding. We are on item C, a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for architect services at Shiloh Museum of Ozark History, and this was presented by Angie Albright.
I'll play Angie tonight. Angie's not here this evening. We discussed this at committee. The Arkansas Historic Preservation Program has agreed to pay for the roof and I believe it's the roof of the Smith Searcy House over here at the Shiloh Museum, and chimney repairs. And so they're going to pay for that out of the $66,134. That's going to cost $57,508. That's the construction cost. And then the Shiloh Board is going to pay for the architectural fees, which is going to be $8,626. Both of those will total $66,134. That's no money coming out of the general fund or our city budget. That is all being paid for by the preservation program and architectural fees by the Shiloh Board.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any other questions or comments? Okay, anyone? Call for the vote.
Carries 7-0.
Now on to item D, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with the Tesla developer for a cost share to improve Apple Road from Jean George Boulevard to 64th Street. And this is going to be presented by Ryan Carr.
Good evening. To summarize, this agreement would put up funding to improve the remaining quarter of Apple Blossom Road between Jean George and 64th that isn't included in the Tesla development. And I'm open to answer any questions.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Just one side.
Right, Tesla's
north.
doing, but the whole street will be done when it's finished. We're doing one side, about one quarter of
The
it.
northeast
Yeah.
quarter, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Other comments or questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Carries 7-0.
All right, Amelia, with your permission, let me say a little something before
Yes, sir.
these next two. I know there's been, I asked that these be put on here, and in the meantime, one of our council members informed me that he would be out of pocket and wouldn't have cell service this week. I thought we were going to have two, but Mike's plans changed, so he's here tonight. And it's totally, I'm ambivalent about how you want to proceed with this. We're happy to talk about the budget, answer any questions. If you want to vote, great, but if not, if we want to just take it up at next week's committee meeting, that's perfectly fine too. We're bumping up against one more regularly scheduled council meeting this year. So hopefully, between now and committee, if any of you have any more questions, I am available, Colby is available. I'll meet you on Friday if I need to, but we could also meet on Monday. So just know that. But that's if you want to move discussion to committee next Monday.
I make a motion, we move it to next Monday, or
Table to committee? Yeah. Okay. Next committee meeting.
My only concern is we have one absent, but, is everybody planning on being here then in a couple weeks?
Yeah. You could always be missing somebody, but between committee and the next council meeting, hopefully you'll get everybody. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table to the next week's committee meeting. Any other comment or questions? Anyone? Yeah, because that does say approving the resolution. Let's, Denise, can we do a voice vote on this? Table? Okay, thank you. Yeah, for E and F, right? That's the motion for both items? Okay.
Powell,
No.
Taldo. No. Watson. Overton,
Yes.
Lawson. Bailey,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
yes.
Carries 5-2. Table to December 2nd committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Chairwoman. We move on now to item 9, the Committee of the Whole. And it's a public meeting. I'll turn this over to Ernest to set up.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, if you recall, we had discussions at 2 or 3 different committee meetings about proposed increases to sanitary sewer rates and to water rates, also development impact fees as well. The state statute requires before action can be taken on the ordinance for the sewer rates, a public hearing has to be held. And at the meeting on the last council meeting, you passed a resolution setting the public hearing for tonight. Notice of the public hearing was published. I've got proof of the publication. So is there anyone here that wishes to comment on the proposed ordinance on the sewer rates? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and then we'll move on to item B, which is, I'll go ahead and read the title. It's an ordinance establishing and setting rates for sanitary sewer service, repealing ordinance number 5429 and pertaining to other matters relating thereto. If you'll recall that it's, and I think Mr. Ward's going to make you aware of this, but this is option 2C, I believe, is what was forwarded with recommendation for approval.
That's correct.
Is there some reason we have to have 2 ordinances? I'm just wondering.
The water rate, and sewer, yes, statute requires it to be done separately.
Because actually, Jeff, I think the public meeting was just for sewer. Yeah, it's required for sewer.
Yeah, there's no public hearing required. I don't know why, but there's not a public hearing required for water, just for sewer rates
Or for the impact fees?
or for impact fees.
Go to the public hearing on the water rates, but
You are the public hearing on the water rates.
January 1 for rates under the schedule presented on 2C, and April 1st for the impact fees. That's correct, ma'am.
Thank you.
But the only item before you at the moment is the ordinance for the sewer rates. And I read the title. I don't know if I said it, but they were also forwarded from the 11/4/24 committee meeting with recommendation for approval.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, to pass the ordinance. Other questions, comments? Anyone in the room? Anyone in the public? All right, seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Carries 5-2. The next item is an ordinance repealing ordinance number 5430, establishing water rates to be charged by the city of Springdale for other purposes.
Move the ordinance pass.
Motion, a second, to pass the ordinance. Other comments or questions? Open it up to anybody in the room. All right, call for the vote.
Carry 6-1. Item D is an ordinance to enact water and wastewater development impact fees, adopting rules and regulations related thereto pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-56-103 and amending Chapter 118 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Springdale, Arkansas. This is attached to the ordinance is the water and sewer rate study and impact fee study that is referred to in the ordinance, and the development impact fees will also be codified in Chapter 118 of the Code of Ordinances, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Ernest, you're satisfied that this ordinance meets all the requirements for impact fees being for designated purposes?
I do, and this was also vetted with the attorney for the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission as well.
And we will receive those updates.
Yes, ma'am. I've publicly committed and will commit coming back to the council every 6 months to let y'all know exactly where we're at on these major projects that are going to help us with growth.
And there was a sundown clause, correct?
It is programmed for 5 years. That's the financial programming.
Let me address that if I can. On top of page 5 of the ordinance, you'll see subparagraph 4 and paragraph 5 that states that the fee assessment and collection of the water development impact fees, and the next one is for the wastewater development impact fees, shall cease at such time as the improvements are completed as provided in the capital plan. And, because I know there was some discussion about the sunset, if you were to choose you couldn't really choose the term when the projects were fully funded, because the statute allows you to bond or otherwise get money up front and then use these to recoup that money. So you can't use that phrase. So the terms water improvements and the term sewer improvements in the ordinance are defined terms which relate back to the specific projects that are identified in the impact fee study. It is contemplated that 5 years would be if using the formula in the study, that 5 years would be the appropriate time. It may end up being shorter than that. It may end up being a little longer, but they have to be spent, or if they're not spent within 7 years of when they're collected, they have to be refunded.
And they have to go towards certain projects?
Yes.
It's those
Very
projects.
specific. Yes, ma'am.
Move to ordinance be adopted.
Second.
You want to finish anything?
No, I was just going to say that if you look at in the ordinance, the definition of water improvements specifically refers to the two water projects and even has the dollar amounts in there. The sewer improvements is specifically defined as the Johnson Force Main Improvement Project with a dollar amount. So hopefully it's all, we've never done this before.
So if they wanted to do some other projects to be paid for with impact fees, we'd have to have a new ordinance.
That's correct. This money would be accounted for and allocated specifically to those projects.
There was also some discussion, if I may, about the manner in which they would be collected and how developments would get under the wire, so to speak, where they would or would not have to be subject to these, because these are effective April 1st. The ordinance provides that it's on page 5 of the ordinance. It's actually section 118-266, which will be codified, is that provisions of this ordinance go into effect on April 1st of 2025, provided, however, that any preliminary plat, large-scale development, or non-large-scale development approved by the Springdale Planning Commission and the City of Springdale and approved by Springdale Water Utilities prior to the effective date shall be exempt from the impact fees. So we didn't want to get into a situation where someone just submitted something on a napkin and said, here, I've submitted it to planning. And these are being collected by Springdale Water Utilities. The city will not be responsible for collecting these. They're done in connection with the water meter. That's when they're collected and assessed. So that was the other issue that had come up in discussion as well, about how would a development get under the wire.
Am I correct in saying that Patsy said that you would probably need to submit something 60 days prior to that April 1st in order to get all of those things cleared?
I'll defer to Sharon on that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be approximate because you don't know how snowed under you're going to be, right? So it's more accurate to hang it on what stage the approval is in to get in under the wire.
And we wanted to make it very clear what was required for it to be exempt. We didn't want to have any ambiguity, and I think we've hopefully accomplished that, so.
Heath, I probably should have brought this up on our last vote, but would you explain to the public how you're going to notify the rate increases to them?
What I basically handed you will be the communication that we will enclose. In fact, if the rest of the ordinance is found favorable, we'll send these off tomorrow. And this basically has a letter explaining to the residents and customers of our community, or several communities we serve, about the rate increase. It also has a table to where they can estimate what their budget will be in the next 5 years, whatever they have to budget based on their use. It kind of is a guide. And the below, and I think the most important thing to communicate is, even though we are having rate increases, is that we still are providing a good value to the citizens when you compare our current rates and future rates with the impact fees, and it's noted on here, is still being a good value for our residents. It gives them a little cost comparison. And then on the back, it also gives them a link to a website where they can get more detailed information. And this would go in their December bills to where they would get these notices in December, and they would actually see their bills change in their February billing. So they won't see it immediately because December's billing will be in January.
And this table, this dollar table, that is the water and sewer combined?
That is correct. That's a combined amount.
Is there a way to also put this on your website somehow? In case somebody
Yes,
doesn't
there's a link, and as soon as it's permissible, we'll get this posted on our website, and there's far more detailed information available to the public.
All right, we do have a motion, a second. Are there any other questions? All right. I'll call for the vote.
Carry 6-1.
All right.
I believe that's it. Unless there's any other questions, I appreciate the support of the council, and, I look forward to, really growing our city in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be
Right.
very critical with all the infrastructure and roads going in. Thank you.
Thank you, Heath, and thank all your folks for all their work, and the commission.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pass these next two, I believe, to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The first, item 10, is an ordinance authorizing the city clerk to file a cleanup lien for the removal of overgrown brush and debris on property located within the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. These are several, actually 2234 Carefree Lane and 501 Carlton Street.
Move ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the ordinances, correct? Oh, we're just doing the one, just 10, okay. You had 2 addresses,
Yes.
okay. All right, anybody in the audience need to speak to this? Okay. It was 405. I had to think about that too. Well, my sister still lives there in 405, so I wanted, all right, let's call for the vote.
Carry 7-0. Has an emergency clause.
Move emergency clause be done.
Okay, call for the vote on the emergency clause. There we go. Thank you.
Carry 7-0. Item 11 is an ordinance authorizing the city clerk to file a cleanup lien for the removal of overgrown brush and debris on property located within the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. These are several lots. They're referred to as Lancashire parcels, and there's a 3598 Alliance Drive and one on Canterbury Place. The reason there's 2 different ordinances is the first one were Washington County. These properties are in Benton County.
Move ordinance pass.
Got a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other comments or questions? Or anybody in the audience need to speak to this property? All right, call for the vote.
Carries 7-0.
Move emergency clause be adopted.
All right, we have an emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Carries 7-0.
All right, thank you. Item 12, comments from department heads. Y'all have anything? Colby?
Mayor, I'll say something. We haven't addressed it publicly yet, but, you know, we talked to the city council a while back about using a lobbyist in Washington DC, and I told you we also have one in Little Rock, and we just got awarded by the governor's office $750,000 as through our lobbyist in Little Rock to go towards the fire training facilities. So they just approved that through the Arkansas Legislative Council from a request from the governor. And so we're excited about that for our fire department. That's going to allow us to do some more things in the bond that we thought we might not be able to. And we've got a few other things lined up and in the pipeline with the governor's office. So things are going well on that front.
Thanks, Colby. Thanks for staying on that, too, the staff. Is anybody want to comment from the council? City attorney? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to inquire to make sure you were okay with our contract with the Chamber of Commerce ends at the end of the year. We do have it in the budget, and since you have the budget on the agenda for the committee meeting on Monday, I wanted to get your temperature on bringing the resolution to renew the contract to the committee meeting on Monday. That way we can get on the agenda for December 10th.
I don't see anybody jumping up and down screaming, so everybody seems to be positive with that. So thank you, Ernest.
Depends on what the rate is.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
And then I have one last thing, and I don't mean to be wordy. For Mr. Huntley, Ms. Jeffus, Mr. Fujarus, Mr. Watson, Mayor, and who am I leaving out here? Randall. Get with us about the swearing in. I've talked to soon-to-be Judge Samples. He's willing to do Thursday morning, July 2nd at 9:30 in the courtroom to do the
July
swearing in.
2nd, is that going to be his car lot?
January 2nd.
January
Did I say July? I mean January 2nd.
So I did get something from the Benton County Election Commission today. Do we ignore that?
That was a mistake. She said they shouldn't have sent that to you because you got Washington County.
Regular swearing in like we always do.
Yes. So
Did
I
you
talked to soon-to-be Judge Samples. He's willing to do the swearing in Thursday morning, January 2nd at 9:30 if you're available at that time.
All right, I don't have anything else except to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Also, I was serious when I said I'd be happy to meet with anybody on Friday if that works better for you than Monday. Honestly, that would get me out of mowing up leaves. So let me know if that works for you.
So moved.
They have a motion to adjourn. We stand adjourned. Thank you.